Hi, I'm Karen Johns and I'm here to tell everyone about VR in the industry.
Hello, my name is Alistair and I will be talking about VR in the military.
My name is Jake and I'm going to talk to you about how virtual reality can help in education.
Round 1.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hi, I'm Karen Johns and I'm here to tell everyone about VR in the industry, history of VR and how it impacts the industry. Stage 1. A brief history. The Sensorama was the first ever virtual reality machine made by cinematographer Morten Helging in 1956, trademarked in 1962. It could fit up to 4 people at a time. It was a giant booth and also had multiple technologies that could replicate all 5 senses, and full 3D video. The senses being sight for audio, hearing for sense, and you could also taste the things as well, which was the taste, and it had atmospheric effects such as the wind, which was really ahead of its time for 1956. It also used these use of senses and the use of 3D would later be known in the industry as 4-dimensional, or 4D, and it has 6 short films developed for it. The next one we'll talk about is the Telesphere Mask. While developing the Sensorama, Helging also made the Telesphere Mask. He developed this in 1960. This being the first ever head-mounted display ever made. It provided full stereoscopic 3D, wide vision, and stereo sound. Next, we're talking about the headset. It wasn't until a year after the Telesphere Mask that the VR would be able to track motion. However, this HMD wasn't used for VR, it was used for military purposes, allowing them to remotely look at hazardous situations. The camera was able to imitate a person's head movements. It wasn't up until the 80s and 90s until VR became a whole thing to join the industry. Virtual reality gained its name in 1987. In 1989, Mantle released the Power Glove peripheral for the NES. It wasn't very successful. In 1990, optimistic technologist Jonathan Waldring exhibited his virtual reality arcade machine at the Computer Graphics 90s exhibition in London. Then in 1991 he mass-produced them, becoming the first ever virtual reality entertainment systems. A few months later, Sega announced they were going to release a headset called the Sega VR. But this unfortunately never came to light, due to the Sega saying, and I quote, "We have concerns of people injuring themselves as the VR effect was too realistic." 3 years later, in 1994, Sega gave a fateful successor to their unreleased VR headset and released their Sega VR1 system, which was a motion simulator arcade machine. After seeing Sega beat them to the punch for VR, Nintendo wanted to take VR to the next level with their Nintendo Virtual Boy. Unfortunately, due to its limited colour palettes and being only black and red, and its lack of support and system limitations, it only lasted for a year without being discontinued. In 1997, Georgia Tech and Emory University researchers used VR to create wartime scenarios, known simply as Virtual Vietnam. My good friend Alistair will cover this in more detail later in the video. In 2001, the SAS Cube was released to the first ever PC-based Cubic Room user. Cubic Room. Users would step into the Cubic Room with a virtual reality HMD on, and they can interact with CGI models and items. In 2017, Google Street View was introduced, and then 2007, Google Street was introduced, and then 3 years later, in 2010, Google upgraded Google Street View to a 3D stereoscopic version for Google Earth. In 2012, Oculus Rift got its Kickstarter and released 2.4 million, reaching its goal for release. In 2014, Oculus was bought by Facebook for $2 billion. This is what took VR virtual reality up to the big time. Sony announced they were working on their PlayStation VR, codenamed Morpheus at the time. Google released the Google Cardboard, a stereoscopic low-cost VR headset for smartphones. Samsung announced its Samsung Gear VR, and this used smartphones as a VR headset. In 2015, VR possibilities became more widely available for the public. And then in 2018, Nintendo tried to hand VR again with the Nintendo Labo, the interactive cardboard virtual reality game. Again, it was more successful than the Virtual Boy, but it still wasn't very successful because of the high cost for the cardboard and the fact that the graphics kind of damaged a few things as well. And that covers pretty much everything about the history of VR.
Round 2.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hello, my name is Alistair and I will be talking about VR in the military. Virtual reality has been influential in so many areas in the real world, but no area has benefited more than the military organizations across the world. This obviously includes the Navy, Army and Air Force as prime examples. The military and the gaming industry have had a very long and interesting relationship together, starting all the way back in the 1960s where the military would help invent, finance and support the particular hardware used in video games at the time. For instance, what some consider to be the first ever video game, Space War, was funded by the Pentagon in 1962. As video games consoles quickly improved in graphical and processor capabilities, so did video games themselves become more and more immersive, which showed promise when first-person games such as 1980's Battlezone and 1993's Doom started making their way onto the market. This would obviously capture the attention of militaries who only got more interested as virtual reality started making its way into arcades and attempts of it into people's homes. Why were militaries so interested in video games and VR, so just meant as a general hobby, you may be asking? Simply put, VR was seen as a way that can simulate a lot of the training in a controlled and safe environment, especially considering the fact that some training may be either near impossible or outright dangerous to replicate properly. This allows for a safe hands-on experience, which allows the soldiers to better learn how various tasks are performed by doing them in a virtual space rather than just being told and shown. Furthermore, the use of VR can be used to treat and reduce symptoms of psychological disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, by exposing soldiers to the very thing causing them so much stress, allowing them to get used to the situation and cope easier. To elaborate on what I just talked about, one area in which VR has a huge impact is in vehicle simulation, particularly with air vehicles such as planes and helicopters. How this works is having the trainee pilot sit on a unit which is mounted on a hydraulic lift on an electronic system, which is then able to tilt, move or twist in accordance with the trainee pilot's actions in order to replicate the movements of an aircraft. All the while various monitors will display images of a virtual landscape and are presented as if they are looking through the windows of an actual aircraft in the heat of battle and so on. This proves to be an incredibly efficient way of training future pilots without needing them to actually enter an aircraft and risk damaging themselves or others. Moving on, another area in which VR helps significantly is with combat and weapon handling training. It is done via the use of VR guns, armored vehicles and submarines, which will fire or launch virtual ammunition like bullets and torpedoes. This then helps the soldiers understand how weapons are held and handled, as well as assisting in their targeting skills. Militaries know that many soldiers play video games in their free time, which makes this ideal as said soldiers presumably already have an idea of how it all works. The trainees wear head-mounted displays or HMDs, data gloves and suits, and carry VR weapons to fully immerse themselves and control what they do in their virtual environment, which is proven to be much safer than doing so in real life with real weapons and gear. This has also been used to train medics and help them learn to treat injuries that may be caused by gunfire, exploding devices, mines, etc. By using a multi-platform system to allow the trainee medics to engage in complex medical scenarios. The purpose of this is to teach a group of recruits about the importance of teamwork and following orders to the letter. Failure to do so will obviously hold the entire team back during an actual battle scenario. And that concludes virtual reality in the military. We will now go to two more people who will go over areas of how VR helps in another way.
Round 3.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hello, my name is Jake and I'm going to talk to you about how virtual reality can help in education. One way virtual reality can be used to help in education is by visually showing students how things work or how it's made, such as how the human body functions, or how things work, such as power plants or chemical reactions. Take the Big Bang Theory, for example. If we can show students how it roughly started and how the universe changed over time, it can make it easier for people to understand how the universe was created simply by showing them simulations rather than explaining the theories. Most people have a certain way of learning, but some people have a different way of learning as well. This can either be visual images or auditory. Virtual reality can greatly help the people with these issues, as it allows them to see what they need to learn, and it can easily hear everything without other distractions, allowing them to stay focused and making it more engaging. Another way virtual reality helps in education is by treating people with certain illnesses such as PTSD or people that had shocking experiences. This allows us to create simulations based on those experiences, which other people can watch or experience themselves to gain a better understanding. This can create awareness or even create training simulators for students, such as what it would be like and what to do in terrorist attacks or how to deal with fires. Virtual reality was starting to emerge in festivals dedicated to virtual reality around the mid-2010s and has been evolving since then. It has taught thousands of people by improving their social skills, making lessons more interactive, and making simulators. Virtual reality also helps prepare students and employees for meetings by improving their social skills with fake meetings, as VR can help boost confidence skills before actual meetings or presentations. The only bad part about virtual reality is that it's still in its early stages of development, and the equipment you need is expensive. A typical virtual reality headset could cost around £200 or £300 depending on what headset you get. Overall, virtual reality can help students engage more in lessons and boost their social skills with virtual meetings and fun lessons. It can allow students to learn things that can be considered too dangerous or too expensive to show in real life. Virtual reality can literally save trips just by showing a simulation of a certain place, such as Rome or Brazil. Lastly, since there is a pandemic, virtual reality can also help. Since there's a pandemic right now, virtual reality can help educate students and people during pandemics. Social distancing is an important part of containing a pandemic, so virtual reality can be used to help keep people socially distant from each other. This allows them to learn without the risk of spreading diseases.
Round 4.
3, 2, 1,
God
go!
115. My name is Katie Cox and I'll be talking using Microsoft Berry about virtual reality for teachers and education, because I hate listening to the sound of my own voice. Okay, let's get on with this. Though teachers determine the pathways for dissemination of knowledge, there are limitations to what a teacher can do. VR helps in enhancing the teacher's ability, and in no way acts as a replacement or substitute. For instance, by training teachers in how to use VR, we can endow them with the skills to successfully implement VR technology in the classrooms that will be specifically designed to cater to the needs of that classroom. The training of teachers will ensure that all the rough edges are smoothed out before getting into the hands of students, especially in figuring out things such as how to set up a VR lab, invite students into that lab, and run a module as a class. Teachers have a major stake in influencing how educational technology affects educational ecosystems, and through their able and informed guidance, students can be empowered to avail the best of what VR has to offer. Yet, as daunting as that might seem, it is imperative that a pedagogically sound system be in place to facilitate the use of VR, which should likewise be tied to the curriculum. No less of a system should be introduced into classrooms, lest we give up the chance of leveraging the benefits of this technology. When such an educational VR system is in place, adoption by teachers worldwide will be swift, practical, and well used. So, can VR replace teachers? For us, the short answer is simply no. The use of technology in the classroom should not reduce the need for great teachers. Instead, it should require great teachers to properly facilitate its use in the classroom and make it a key part of pupils' education. VR, still very early in its development and implementation, will be a hugely beneficial tool for teachers. We have very little doubt about this. However, it can never reach pupils in the same way a teacher can. It lacks humanity at its core, and this is what all great teachers have. That's all I have to say. Okay, thanks, bye.
but no area has benefited more than the military organizations across the world. This obviously includes the Navy, Army, and Air Force as prime examples.
Sorry, Ali. I'm so sorry.
Hello.
I'll leave. Sorry, I'll stop you from messing up your shot again.